My room's been turned into my granddaughter's room. You just noticed now? Aren't you a bit slow? Did you lose your marbles or something? Please don't be a burden on us. My eldest son and his wife were laughing as they saw me frozen in front of what used to be my room. These two are devils. They're trying to kick me out of the house. I had a bad feeling from the moment they moved in, and now it's coming true. Both Tom and Lisa were snickering. But they seem to have a misunderstanding. They think the mortgage on this house is already paid off. If that's the case, I should definitely use that to my advantage. Their condescending looks will only last for now. Are you really okay with me leaving? Of course. Or do you think you're indispensable or something? They can laugh all they want now. My name is Kathy Martin, 54 years old. In my early 20s, I went through 2 pregnancies and a divorce. I raised my 2 sons as a single mother. My eldest son's name is Tom Martin, 30 years old. He's married and has a child. My granddaughter is absolutely adorable. Her name is Bella. She just turned 3 and will be starting preschool next year. Since my younger son, Jack, also left, I thought I'd live freely and went ahead and bought a house. I finished raising my children relatively early and have been working hard ever since. So, I had a fair amount of savings. But, I've been frugal for a long time and had a habit of saving more. Neither of my sons seemed to know I had money because they were both surprised when I bought the house. I won't be a burden on you two. I can take care of myself. Yet Tom told me, Mom, I have my own family now, and I can't look after you. Considering your age, can you take it easy? Don't cause any trouble for us, okay? Are these the words of the son I worked so hard to raise? Instead of feeling sad, I was more annoyed at that moment. I won't be a burden. I'm still young, you know. Young? Well, I'm hands off then. Just so you know. Yeah. I bet Tom is trying to warn me in advance not to expect any help if I become senile or ill. I vowed to keep both my body and mind healthy. I don't want someone who says such things to care for me. Ever since he was young, Tom wasn't exactly the nicest. Jack was the quiet type, didn't say much. He was harmless, but sometimes I worried about him. Maybe I paid too much attention to Jack, and that's why Tom became so troublesome. It was cute when he was a child, but it's pathetic for him to make such remarks as an adult. I'm surprised he even got married. I was almost in tears when he first told me he found someone he wanted to marry. I was so happy that someone was willing to marry my son. I remember the first time Tom brought his wife home. Nice to meet you. I'm Lisa. Lisa had been looking all around the house even before she greeted. Back then, I was living in a small apartment. It was old, but I kept it clean and thought it was fine, but Lisa's opinion was different. Really, just as you said, a rundown place. I couldn't believe my ears. We were about to become family, and I was shocked she would say such a thing. However, Tom just laughed and didn't chastise her. Didn't I tell you? Let's just finish the greetings and head on out. Hold on a minute. I've prepared a meal. No way. I can't eat in such a dirty place. We only came here because Mom wanted to at least greet you, Tom said. We aren't gonna eat. With that, they left. I cried as I ate the remaining feast by myself. I felt so empty and frustrated. I didn't understand how someone could act that way upon first meeting their mother-in-law. I could only feel anger towards Tom for not stopping her. After the wedding, Tom and Lisa suddenly disappeared. I assumed they were enjoying their own lives. I didn't want to meet Lisa again after that first impression, so it was a relief. Then one day, I got news that a baby was born. This made me truly happy. It was my first grandchild. When I rushed to the hospital and held the baby, I felt joy. Even if it was just a short while, it was a happy moment. I had often heard that grandchildren are special, and it was indeed true. The baby was apparently named Bella. Bella dear. I felt like she responded a bit when I called her name. I need to live long to see Bella grow up. I remember making that resolution in my heart. However, it wasn't easy to get to meet her. Even though I was prepared to some extent, the reality of not being able to see her was saddening. Hearing that Lisa's parents got to meet her made it even more painful. Is it that the daughter-in-law's parents often get more chances to meet their grandchildren? Or perhaps it's just that our relationship with our eldest son is weak. But I at least wanted to see her once a year. With a glimmer of hope, I called. "We're going out today, so please don't come." "Then, when can I see her?" "It's been a year already. Bella's grandma is just Lisa's mom. You don't need to see her."
"How could you say that?"
That's when I truly felt lonely for the first time. Luckily, I had work, and my colleagues listened to my story. Everyone sympathized, saying, "That's too cruel." One colleague suggested, "Since you're alone now, why not do something you've always wanted and forget about such a family?"
That might be a good idea.
At first, I pondered what to do and found myself restless alone at home. Then, I saw a feature on TV about people who moved to nature-rich places and were living refreshing lives. I thought this was it. I switched to working completely remotely and bought a house in the suburbs. I informed my sons about the move. Soon after, Tom's wife, Lisa, seemed interested and showed up with Bella, their daughter. I was thrilled with the surprise visit from my granddaughter. Changing my environment seemed to have instantly brought about something good.
"This place would be good for Bella's upbringing,"
Lisa said, looking around my home. I felt something off about her comment. From that moment, Lisa started dropping by often, asking me to look after Bella.
"You must be happy seeing your granddaughter, aren't ya?"
"Yeah, but isn't it a bit too often?"
"You always said you wanted to spend more time with her. I'm making that wish come true, and now you're complaining?"
Tom and Lisa acted as if leaving their child with me was for my benefit. What was initially babysitting a few times a week turned into an everyday responsibility. I had been looking forward to enjoying some alone time, but now I couldn't get anything done. I was losing sleep, juggling between work and babysitting. "Hey, Bella's here again today."
"Lisa, I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather."
"What?" "I've got plans with my friends today. It's too late to cancel now." "Sorry, but can you take Bella with you? I'm sure your friends will understand." "How can you be so irresponsible?" I wanted to retort, asking who was the real irresponsible one, dumping their child on me every day. But I was too sick to argue. In the end, she left Bella with me that day and went out, not returning even after 10 p.m. Bella, still at an age where she doesn't fully listen, was a handful. It was really tough. She finally came to pick Bella up just before midnight. Taking advantage of my silence, she began frequently picking up Bella in the middle of the night. At times, she even left Bella overnight.
"Tom, can you talk to Lisa?"
"What? Why? You were happy about it, weren't ya?"
"How can I babysit every day? I'm working too."
"Geez, you're so selfish. You wanted this." I couldn't recall ever wanting daily babysitting duties. It was a mystery. And then the unexpected happened. Without warning, movers showed up at my doorstep, unloading tons of boxes.
"Wait a minute! What's going on? I didn't hear anything about a move."
"Well, I was worried about you, and I thought it would be nice if Bella lived with you, so we decided to move in." To my shock, my eldest son's family was moving in. The audacity of his statement was just staggering. I firmly refused to live together, but to avoid troubling the movers, I decided to discuss it after they were done.
"We can't fit 4 people here."
"It'll be fine. With a place this big, there won't be any problems. Plus, I really like it here," Lisa stated nonchalantly, sprawling on the couch as if she owned the place. Bella stepped between Lisa and me, gazing up at us. That made it hard to argue further. So much for my dream of a carefree solo life. Now, I am starting a shared living arrangement with my eldest son's family. Though Lisa was supposedly a stay-at-home mom, she did no housework. I'm busy with childcare. she'd say, forcing me to cook 3 meals a day for them. And of course, they never contributed to the grocery bills. This couldn't go on. With Bella constantly being left with me, I decided to leave early in the morning for work. Even though I had transitioned to remote work, I was now commuting again.
Kathy, I thought you were fully remote.
Sorry, I'm just really busy right now. It was true, I was swamped with work. I had been promoted to head a new department. After several nights of working overtime, one evening I got home past 11 p.m., noticing something was amiss in my apartment. Exhausted, I still felt something was off, but headed straight to my bedroom.
What? What's all this?
None of my belongings were there, and the room was filled with Bella's things. Little Bella was sound asleep on a small bed.
It's turned into the granddaughter's room.
As I stood, shocked at the entrance, I heard laughter. Turning around, I saw Lisa and Tom grinning side by side. I couldn't comprehend the situation.
Where's my stuff?
We got rid of it. They kept only the furniture and electronics they liked, and nearly all of my things were thrown out.
Frankly, we got almost nothing for it. We tried selling it, but they said it was in such bad shape that it was embarrassing. We'll keep the little money we got as compensation for our trouble.
It finally dawned on me with those words. From the start, these two had plans to kick me out of this house.
You're always leaving early and coming home late, so you don't really need a house, do you? You're trying to kick me out? Did you just realize that now? Aren't you a bit slow? Maybe you're going senile?
Please don't trouble us anymore. This woman is a devil. How can she be so cruel? It's hard to believe we're the same species. I decided to give up on staying here and fighting with Lisa.
You're saying I should take this as you are kicking me out?
Yes.
We'll be living here. Just think of it as doing your last bit for your kids and leave.
Even though I don't remember them ever being dutiful, I wondered why I had to be the one doing things for them, but I remained silent.
You're really okay with me leaving?
Do you think we need you?
The most you've ever done is babysit Bella.
The next day, I was essentially thrown out of the house. I contemplated going to Jack's place, but Jack is so reserved, it's hard to tell what he's thinking. And if he were living with a girlfriend, it would be awkward for his mother to show up. I ended up staying at a business hotel near my office for a while. That night, Lisa and Tom seemingly toasted to having kicked me out.
She won't do anything crazy, right?
Don't worry, she's thick-skinned. Alone in the business hotel, I, with my thick skin, pondered over the day's events. The following day, I told my company about my situation and decided to take a short leave. I was worried about burdening my team, but my colleagues were incredibly supportive, which was comforting.
We need the house under my name.
I got a call from Tom, saying just that.
I was gonna contact you about that too. You're sure about the name change? Don't make me repeat myself. We talked about this when you left, right? Just get it done.
All right. I did as he wished and transferred the title of the house. A few days later, as expected, I got another call.
Kathy! What's going on here?
Are you talking about the mortgage?
You tricked us. Let's meet and talk about it now.
I didn't trick anyone. It was Lisa and my son who kicked me out on their own accord. Thinking that I'd have to confront them someday, I headed to Lisa's place. Bella was left in the care of Lisa's parents. They were also in a confrontational mood.
Kathy, who's that with you? That's my lawyer.
I brought a lawyer with me in case things get tricky. Both Lisa and Tom were shocked. They probably thought with a lawyer around, they couldn't manipulate me easily. Their agitation was clearly visible.
Why the lawyer? I thought you might make some false claims. It's better for both of us to have a third party present. Don't bring outsiders into this. If you're gonna say that, then there's no point in talking.
I'll leave. As I tried to leave, Lisa nudged Tom. Reluctantly, Tom stopped me, and with the lawyer present, our discussion began.
We weren't told about the remaining mortgage payments. Well, after you kicked me out without asking, I don't know what you expected. Why are you laughing?
Lisa, enraged, stood up. Tom held her back and pointed to a voice recorder on the table. Seeing it, Lisa sat down again, but kept glaring at me, clearly furious.
The monthly mortgage payment for this house is $1,800. You two better pull together to pay it. $1,800? Mom, how do you have so much money? After you guys became adults, I took on more jobs, cut back on my expenses, and started investing.
I didn't want my sons to feel the hardships of being raised by a single mother. I tried my best not to let them realize we were struggling. I always allowed them to do the things they wanted, even if it was a bit beyond my means. To be honest, I didn't have much savings. That's when a coworker advised me about saving for the future. Fortunately, even after sending my sons to college, I was only 43. I was still in my prime working years. So, I took on side gigs and doubled my efforts to save money. Once I saved a substantial amount, I invested it. After 10 years, I'd saved quite a lot. After my sons left, I decided to use the money I'd earned for myself. So, I boldly took out a mortgage and bought a house, only for it to be taken from me. The deed's already been changed. Now you'll have to pay the remaining mortgage. You took it upon yourselves to take the house, so you deal with the consequences. That's not fair. Lisa's face turned red with anger. That's when the lawyer clarified that I had no obligation to pay. He also mentioned that disposing of someone else's property is a crime, and if they continued to force me to pay a mortgage for a house I wasn't living in, we could take them to court. Tom and Lisa, not well versed in the law, started to panic. Clearly, they didn't want a lawsuit. Okay, we'll handle the mortgage. Just don't sue us.
Glad you understand.
Lisa made a face, looking frustrated.
After all this, you're not our mother anymore. Never show your face to us again.
Tom, furious, lashed out at me. He hadn't really met me much since he moved out. After all the unpleasant experiences and him kicking me out, I felt nothing for him anymore. Knowing I wouldn't have to see him again felt liberating.
I don't want to see your faces either.
Works out perfectly. Telling them that, Tom looked shocked. He probably never imagined his own mother would ever give up on him.
This isn't how it was supposed to be.
As I was leaving the front door, I heard Tom's voice like that. Months later, Lisa called to apologize. Kathy, I'm truly sorry. Please come back. We just can't afford to pay.
Even if you apologize, I won't come back. I've already moved to a new place. Where is it? Can we come over right now?
I couldn't help but laugh. What's Lisa so desperate about?
You think I'm gonna tell you where I am, Lisa? Please! If it continues like this, we're gonna go bankrupt.
That's not my problem. Lisa could just get a job. It's not right to rely on me without working.
You could just get a job. I started working, but Tom got fired.
What? Why? This was a shock to me. According to Lisa, Tom used to work late hoping for overtime pay. One day, when a junior colleague went to the restroom, he took money from his wallet.
Don't report it to the police.
Tom begged him like that. Even though he stole, it was just $50, so the junior didn't report it to the police. But he reported it to the boss. Tom was subsequently fired. Lisa, who was counting on Tom's money, was furious.
What are you doing for just $50? You should work too. I'm doing part-time jobs. Work full-time. I have a kid. Part-time is more flexible.
Apparently, they argue like this every day. Tom became unemployed, but the mortgage won't wait.
I'm scared of the monthly payments. I feel like I'm gonna lose my mind. So you're asking for help from someone you drove out? I was told never to show up in front of you guys again. So I can't help. Tom was just too shocked at the time and said it without thinking. There are words that can't be taken back.
Lisa went silent. She seemed to be crying. She looked truly desperate. But I have no obligation to help. I can be cruel too. Sorry, but don't contact me anymore. If you call again, I'll block your number. And I hung up. Just after that, as I was leaving the office for lunch with my colleagues, Lisa, Tom, and Bella were standing there. My colleagues noticed immediately and were concerned. You guys go ahead. I told my colleagues and approached the three. What do you want? I was surprisingly cold. Then, Tom began to apologize. Come on, not here. I made Tom stand up and took the three to a nearby bench. I didn't want Bella to see her father kneeling to her grandmother. I was wrong. Please help. Didn't you say you'd never show up again? That's... Tom seemed ashamed of his actions and regretted hurting his pride. His ears were bright red. I don't need your apologies. Just never show up in front of me again. Aren't I your son? I don't see you as a son anymore. That's harsh. Kathy, that's too harsh. Do you have the right to blame me? Lisa was silent. After being mocked, treated as a nuisance, exploited, and driven out by my son, I couldn't see him as a son anymore. I realized he didn't understand how hurt I was. Even if I explained, they probably wouldn't understand how wrong they've been. It's pointless. What they need to do now is face the consequences of their actions. You're Bella's grandmother, right? I figured this was coming when I brought Bella with me. It's not the child's fault. But if I'm going to be used by the parents like this, I was ready to give up on Bella. Don't use Bella. I'm not going to help or even see you guys anymore. I'm gonna live in a different world now. But you said you wanted to see Bella. Don't exploit your daughter. Deal with your own problems. You brought this on yourself. Mom, you're okay being all alone? It seemed like Tom's last-ditch effort. But I'm not alone anymore. Before I realized it, my colleagues were standing behind me. They must have skipped lunch to come back. I have friends. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to handle this situation. I'm strong because I'm not alone. Let's just stop, Tom. I'm embarrassed. Tom looked defeated and deflated. Lisa took Bella's hand and left, leaving Tom behind. Well, our lunch break is almost over, so we're gonna go. Goodbye. I left too, with my colleagues, leaving Tom behind. It seems Tom stood there in a daze for a while, but was eventually escorted out by the security guard. In the end, Tom and Lisa, my eldest son and his wife, couldn't make their loan repayments. Ignoring the reminders led to an immediate demand for lump sum repayment from the bank. In a panic, Tom and Lisa approached the bank to discuss their inability to repay. Their house went up for auction. Perhaps because it was located far from downtown, similar to being far from New York Center, it didn't sell for the desired price. Maybe because I had it built entirely to my own taste, the house appealed to a limited audience. Lisa, eager to sell, lowered the price on her own. Ultimately, it was sold for about half of its purchase price. Now, the remaining loan turned into a lingering debt. What did you do? You didn't even discuss it with me. Well, I thought it was better to sell it quickly. Why do you always act without thinking? That's why I can't stand people who don't have a job. What? I'm taking care of our child. If you'd help out once in a while, I'd work too. Eventually, they ended up with a massive debt and lost their home. Their credit cards were maxed out and they couldn't get new ones. Unable to rent a place, they initially stayed with Lisa's parents, but Lisa, citing child rearing, neither did household chores nor worked, so they were eventually kicked out. Somehow, they managed to move into a rundown apartment arranged by Lisa's father, facing tough times ahead. They couldn't rely on Lisa's family anymore. Apparently, Lisa's father told them not to return until they had fully repaid the loan. I heard that Bella was being looked after by Lisa's family. Knowing that Bella was safe and well provided some relief. With Bella gone, Lisa had to find a job but couldn't find one. Eventually, she ended up cleaning bathrooms at a shopping mall. There, she bumped into an old friend from college days and was laughed at. Embarrassed, Lisa returned home crying, but Tom's attitude was cold, and stress built up between them. Tom and Lisa argued almost daily, often getting scolded by their neighbors because of the noise. Both really wanted a divorce, but Tom couldn't because he'd be homeless, and Lisa couldn't because she'd have to bear all the debt repayment on her own. Once, when they looked into divorce, they read an article stating the debt would be split between them, so they gave up. Lisa, with no one to turn to, had to rely on online articles. By the way, all of this was in the voicemails on my phone. Eventually, they reached out again, so I decided to block their calls. Tom and Lisa are still working every day, burdened with massive debt. They must regret taking over my house, but it's too late for regrets now. As for me, during my brief stay at a hotel, I unexpectedly received a call from Jack. Apparently, Jack had moved, and it was to give me his new address. When I told him about everything, he was furious that I hadn't consulted him earlier and invited me to stay at his place. The surprise was the size of his place. I knew Jack had started a business, but I didn't know much about it. His business had grown immensely, allowing him to buy such a house. Now, Jack and I are enjoying our time together. Jack is gonna get married soon, so I knew I'd have to move out, but he surprised me by giving me a house. And guess what? That house is right next to Jack's. He apologized, saying it was a smaller house, but when I saw the design, I absolutely loved it. It was exactly to my taste.
I can't believe you knew me so well.
I always thought the reserved Jack wasn't really interested in me, so this truly touched my heart. A few days later, I got to meet his fiancée. She's such a wonderful lady. She was excited about me living next door. In fact, it turned out she was the one who suggested building a house for me next to theirs. I'm looking forward to my new home and my new extended family. Even though I lost touch with my eldest son, getting to experience the kindness of my second son, Jack, makes me feel blessed.